What's up guys, it's Josh back with another video, and today I want to show you guys how to set up your very own NextCloud server. Now, as I stated in the intro of the video, I want to show you guys how to set up your own NextCloud server. And for this demonstration, I'll be doing everything in the cloud on a cloud server using Ubuntu 20.04. And if you didn't know, just like Google and Amazon as well as Microsoft, they have their own cloud platform where there are applications out there that will allow you to set up your own personal cloud so you don't have to go through these large companies to store your data. You can set up your own physical server and you can have full control over that server within a cloud solution. And I'll show you guys how to actually do that now. So sit back, relax, and I'll walk you guys through the full process. Okay, so first off, I wanted to show you guys how I'm going to set this up. I'm actually using Linode, which is a cloud provider as well. They provide basically the same thing as Amazon and Google Cloud as well as Azure, but it's a excellent company to set up your own cloud platform. And I definitely recommend it, so I think you guys should check it out. I believe when you first sign up for Linode, they give you a $100 credit that you can use for the first 6 months of having the account set up. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys the server that I have set up. It already has Ubuntu on it. It only takes a couple minutes to actually spin up one of these Linode servers. And I'll be using this in a demonstration. I'll be SSH'd into that server, and then I'll jump back and forth between the browsers so you guys can actually see once we have NextCloud installed on this server. And don't worry about seeing the IP address. This server will be down before this video is up. And I know you guys be worried about my IP addresses being online, but don't worry about it. Like I said, it'll be gone before you guys even see the video. Now let's hop over and see exactly what NextCloud is. And I already have the site up for it, but you can go to nextcloud.com. And like I said, it's a cloud platform that you can install. You have total control over it. That's one cool feature about it. They also have apps that you can install on your phone to upload your photos and all that stuff. And I know you're wondering, like, well, what's the difference from using Google Cloud versus using your own cloud that you set up in the cloud? Well, as I stated, this gives you the full control over your files. At the end of the day, you don't know what these cloud providers are actually doing with your data. At least with this solution, let's say you wanted to delete something. When you delete it, it's actually gone. When you delete something off Google Cloud or Amazon, I believe they store it for a time period after that. But on here, you have total control. You don't have to worry about the files still being out there waiting for them to actually remove them. You delete them from your actual platform because this is your own server. And yes, it's sitting in the cloud. I get that. But at the same time, you have total control over everything. And then also, this solution will work if you have your own server at the house with a public IP address. And that way you won't be limited in the space as well, because once you start adding a lot of space to these types of servers from these different cloud providers, it can be rather expensive. So that is another solution. So you can follow this demonstration for your own lab setup at the house for your own personal cloud. So let's go down and hop over to the server so we can go down and get started. Okay, cool. So I'm logged into the server via SSH. And a lot of the commands I'm gonna just copy and paste, and I'll explain everything that I'm doing when I'm going through the full process. And also, I know that you can install the snap package, so you don't have to make that comment down in the comments below that why you didn't use the snap package, because it's super easy. It's like a few commands. Well, I just wanted to show you guys the manual way so you can get a full understanding of how to set up NextCloud, which is not that difficult. But when you're learning Linux, it's good to kind of understand what's going on. That way, if you run into a problem, you know where to troubleshoot. Now, the first thing you want to do when installing new applications is obviously update the server. So I'm going to run that command right fast, but it's sudo apt update. and press enter. And I'm sure this server is up to date. I just updated it about an hour ago, so should be good to go. I just wanted to make sure, but that's something that you want to do every single time you install a new server, is to update it. Make sure it's updated. But we want to go down and install the applications, and what you want to use is Apache, MySQL, and PHP. That's what I'm gonna use in this demonstration. Now, it's other ways to, or it's other web servers out there. You can use Nginx. That's another web server, but the configurations are a little bit different. So look up the way you set up a host or a web host for Nginx. But all this will apply to Apache, MySQL, or MariaDB, and PHP. So let's go down and install Apache and MySQL. And like I said, I'm gonna paste everything in just to make it super simple, but that's basically installing Apache and MariaDB. And then once this completes, let's go down and check the status of it. When you install these two applications, by default nowadays, it automatically starts and enable the Apache server as well as MariaDB. But we could check it by typing sudo systemctl and then status and then Apache 2 and press enter, and that'll give us the status. And what you want to look for is that it's active as well as enabled. It should say enabled. Yeah, the service right here. So right here where it says loaded Apache 2.service, as long as it says enable right there, that means that it will start on boot. So every single time you restart the server, Apache will be up and running. And then the same goes for MariaDB. So let's go down and check that out as well. And as you can see, it's active and running, and then also it's enabled. The service is enabled, so we're good to go. We don't have to check anything else at that point or run any of the start commands or enable commands. Now the next thing we need to do is install PHP and all its dependencies, and I just put all this in one command so you guys can kind of see that it's separate. I mean, you can obviously run all these commands together or run all these applications install together, but sudo apps git install, it's got PHP, zip, and actually we don't need zip. I just threw that in there because most of the time I don't mind having zip on a server that I set up anyway. So let's press enter. It'll go through and install all those packages as well. And like I said, they're mainly dependencies for PHP as well as PHP, the current version of PHP. And I believe the current version right now is 7.4, which is what's being installed on the server. Now that we have all three of our applications, we have our LAMP stack installed. Let's go down and secure our MySQL database or MariaDB database. And there's a script built into Ubuntu or when you install MariaDB called MySQL secure install, and this will basically go through and secure your MySQL server or MariaDB, which is pretty much the same thing. So we're gonna run it. It's sudo MySQL secure _ installation. Press enter, and what we're really doing is setting the root password, which is what it's asking for right here. So let's go down and type in a secure password for the account, and we don't have to change it right here. We want to use that same password. And that was actually taken from our root account. So change root password, no, we're gonna leave it the same. But let's go through all the options in here. And this is, like I said, this is basically to secure your MySQL database or server by like removing test databases, anonymous login, all that type of stuff. Reload the privileges table right here, good to go. So now we have secured our MySQL database. Let's go down and log into it and make our changes so we can get everything set for when we install NextCloud. I'm gonna do a lot of copy and pasting. I pre-wrote out all the commands so I don't have to write them out. So this is the login. So basically sudo MySQL -u root and then the password. We're gonna type in our password at that point. Press enter, and now we logged into MariaDB. And then the first thing we want to do is create the database. You want to go down and create your database, and I'm just naming it NextCloud. That's fine. And then now we want to create our user account for our NextCloud database. So it's basically the user that will be accessing the database and writing and creating tables and all that good stuff. So and the command is basically create user, the user account name that you want to do it, then localhost identified by the password. So make sure whatever you put here, you know what it is, because you're going to need it when we set up our NextCloud instance. So just go down, press enter, boom. So we created that, and now let's go down and grant the permissions for that user account to the database, because just because we created it, it still needs to have that access to the database. So as you can see with this, that's what this query is actually doing. Grant all privileges on NextCloud, which is the database that we created, and then everything underneath it to NextCloud, you know, that user that we created called NextCloud, same exact name. So let's press enter, good to go. And the last thing you need to do is flush the privileges, and that's basically just refreshing everything so the accounts are good and we can log into it. And the last thing is just exit out of it, and we're good to go with configuring our database. Now let's go down and get NextCloud itself, and I'm gonna go back over to the browser right fast so I can show you guys how to actually get it, or get the link at least. And that's another reason I use SSH when I'm logging into the servers, because you can copy and paste in a lot of the consoles for all those different cloud platforms. Sometimes it doesn't allow you to copy or paste things in it, but SSH always does from your local terminal, so you're good to go. Now, in order to get NextCloud, all you have to do is click get NextCloud. Well, don't click it, but hover over it and go down to server packages. That's the easiest way to get to it, because we're going to be self-hosting it. And then if you scroll down a little bit, right here it says details and download options. So I'm gonna click there, and what you want to do is download the tor.bz2 file. That's the one I'm using in this demonstration. So if you use something else like zip or something, you're gonna have to use zip for this demonstration, but I'm using tor, the command. So the command, when I extract it, is gonna be a tor command, and you can't use that on a zip file. So just letting you know, if you get the tor, then use the command that I give you, but if you use zip, you have to unzip it a different way, or using the zip file or the unzip command. And you have to make sure that package is there. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then also they have the MD5 hashes right here. You can download those as well, just to verify that you're downloading the authentic package. Now all I'm doing is copying or right clicking on the actual tor.bz and hit copy link. And I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Let me make sure you guys can see that. And it looks like you guys can't see that, but basically, you know, just click copy link on the actual package. Now I already have the command already typed out or in a text file. So let me go down and just copy it from there. But basically what you want to use is wget, and wget should be installed by default. If it's not, just run a sudo apt install wget and install that package, but it should be on your system. But that's how you got to do, is type wget and then paste in the link that you downloaded, and that'll get you the latest version of NextCloud. So let's press enter. It'll go through the process of downloading it, and right now we're downloading it to our home directory, which we have permissions, so you don't have to type sudo or anything. And then let's run ls right fast so you guys can see the downloaded file. So as you can see, it's tor.bz2. Now what we need to do is extract that file, and we can do it right here in our home directory by typing tor, and then it's a couple options, so -x, j, v, and f. And then also we could just type out the file name and tab it out and press enter, and that'll extract it to the current location we in, which is our home directory. So let's go down and wait for that to actually download. It shouldn't take too long, because this is a pretty fast server. So, but it's a kind of a big file based on the amount of files that are in it. Now that we have it extracted, I'm gonna run the ls command again, just to show you what's actually extracted. It basically extracted into a NextCloud folder. So let's go down and copy that folder to our var www directory on our server, which is what Apache uses to serve websites. And all we have to do is type sudo and then copy, or cp, and then -or, and then we could type in NextCloud, which is that folder, and then let's space that out and then put var www, and that's the directory that we want to put it in. So let's press enter. That'll copy that folder over there. And now let's cd to that directory right fast. And this shouldn't take too long. I just wanted to kind of show you guys changing the permissions on it, or actually the ownership of the folder. And then let's ls this directory, which is the location where the NextCloud directory was copied to. And what we want to do is change the ownership of that directory. And I'll just copy that in right fast, just so you guys can actually see it. And as you can see, it's just basically using the ch own and then recursive. But one thing about it, I need to go up to the front, because whenever you're doing ch own or ch mod, you have to use sudo unless you're in the root account. So let's press enter, and then now let's ls this directory again. And I wish I would have showed you guys the permissions before, but it basically was root before, like this file right here that says HTML on it. It was root like that before. So that's basically all we changed, was the ownership and the group of the actual file or folder. And then everything underneath it, when we put the -or, that's recursive. It'll go from the top of the file to the bottom of the file. So now that that's done, let's go on and create our Apache configuration. So I'm gonna cd out of this directory, and let's clear. That way we can clear the screen and you guys can follow along with me. But what I typically do is cd into the etc directory. So etc Apache 2, and then sites available, and that's the directory you want to create your configuration file in. So let's ls this directory so you guys can kind of see what's in there right now. And as you can see, there is a 000-default.config, and that's the file we're going to use to copy. Well, actually we can create our own file, we don't have to use that. But one thing I typically do is I'll copy that config, you know, a lot of time, because it has the format for us. But we can go down and actually let's cat it out so you guys can see it. But let's cat out that file. But this is basically a typical virtual host file or configuration file for Apache for a website. And I won't go through it, but it has a lot of notes in it and all that stuff, so we're gonna ignore that. I'm gonna just go down and just create one. So we could type sudo nano, and then let's type in the file name, which I want to name this one nextcloud.conf, and press enter. That'll open up that file for us and allow us to edit it. And I already have the host information or the website information, so I'm gonna copy and paste that in. Boom. And I know you guys can't see that, but I basically pasted in the configuration. And as you can see, the server name, I just put cloud.keepitechie.net, but it also breaks down the directory and just basically the format for a virtual host on Apache. So let's go down and save this right fast. I'm gonna hit Control X for exit, and then save modified buffer. So that's basically gonna write out the changes that we made to this file and actually create the file in that location. And if we ls this directory, and yeah, I won't do LA, but let's ls this directory, you should see the nextcloud.conf in there. So we're good to go. We have our website up and going, or we have the configuration created. But let's cd out of this directory, because there's a couple more things we have to do. We have to activate this site next, and I'll show you guys how to do that now. But it's a simple command, it's very simple. Let's type sudo, and it's basically called a2 enable site. And this is something built in. This is like one of those commands built into the Apache application that allows you to activate sites, mods, and other changes to the Apache server. So, but it's A2, and then enable sites. Boom. And then now you want to specify that configuration file. And basically all it's doing is enabling the site by creating a link from the sites available directory to the sites enabled directory, and I'll show you guys that in a second when we get through with this command. But all you have to do is specify the configuration file, which is nextcloud.conf, press enter, and as you can see, it enabled the site. And then let me ls that directory right fast so you guys can see, but it's under etc and then Apache, and I apologize for that, but Apache 2, and I can't type tonight but Apache 2, and then we can press enter, and this will show us all the files or directories. And as you can see, there is a sites available, which is where we created that file, but there's also a sites enabled, and right now there should be the same copy of that file in the sites enabled directory, and I'll show you guys that now. So let's type sites enabled and press enter, and you'll see the link, and this is basically it right here. So nextcloud.conf, and you can tell it's a link by the color. It kind of has that teal color, but that's a link to the original file that we created. Okay, so now that we had a configuration set up, there are some things we need to, some mods we need to enable on the server, on the Apache server. There's another command, it's basically called a2 enable mod, and we're basically gonna enable some modules for Apache. Now these things should be enabled already. Some of them are, some of them may not be, but we're just gonna check right fast by typing out the command. So let's type sudo and then I'll paste them in right fast. But a2 enable mods, and we're basically enabling rewrites, headers, environment, dir, and mem, and press enter, and that'll enable all that. And as you can see, it's already enabled. I believe I went in and did this when I was playing around with something else. This server was actually used previously for something, and I might have enabled those for whatever reason, but they're already enabled. They may not be for you, so still run this command to make sure and verify that they're enabled. Now the next thing is one php.ini change we have to make. And like I stated, this is just PHP, this is just a PHP mod, and it basically changes the memory limit. So I'll show you guys how to do it, but I'm basically going to use the sed command, and that's what we're looking for, and that's what we're writing it into the php.ini file. Press enter, it'll make those changes for us in the file. We're good to go. Now that we have the the Apache server set up, MySQL, PHP configured, now let's just go down and restore Apache. That way we can actually go to the site and continue setting it up. And it's super simple. Just type sudo systemctl and then restart. I always just simply restart Apache instead of reload. I don't know, I'm just so used to doing it, but that's the way I've always done it. You can run restart or reload, that'll reload everything. Now let's switch back over to our browser so we can finish the configuration. And like I stated, this is the part where you need to know what the database password is. So and I really have that domain, and I pointed it to this server's IP address, but cloud.keepitechie .net, and that should bring up our NextCloud instance. And as you can see, that worked perfectly. And all I did was went into my domain configuration or my DNS configuration for my domain and added a subdomain and pointed it to this IP address. And that's why I had that in the configuration, where I had the server name as cloud.keepitechie.net. Now the first thing that'll pop up is basically a creation of your admin account, and I'm not sure if it's going to allow me to use admin, but I'll try and see if it actually works. It might not accept it or not, we'll see. And actually, let's type in a better password, and it might not be that better. Yeah, it's fine. Now let's just scroll down, because the next thing we want to do is set up our database, or put in our database information. And our database username is NextCloud, so I'm gonna paste that in there, and I'm also pasting the password so I don't mistype it. But yeah, that's the password. And then The database name is the same as the username, so we just put that in there as well. And that's pretty much it. You can leave this selected. It will basically install all recommended apps, because NextCloud has a whole bunch of extra apps that you can install on the server. So let's just wait for this to finish. It shouldn't take too long, as long as it's just basically connecting to the database, setting up all the tables, you know, putting everything there that needs to be there. And that's weird why I did that, but let's go back to the site. Let's type cloud, and that's not the right thing, but cloud.keepititechie.net, press enter, and it should bring us to our dashboard. Yeah, it was just an issue with the domain for whatever reason. I'm not saved that password, but it pops up with just some information about NextCloud, so you can go through this if you want to. I'm gonna hit the X. We don't have to go through it or whatever, but we officially have a NextCloud server set up, so you can go through, you know, make all the changes you want. It has status settings, you know, location, weather, all kind of settings, you know, that you can actually, you know, go through and set up. And you don't want to use the admin account. You only want to use the admin account for admin purposes. So you want to create another account for your user account, basically, and then only go into the admin account if you need to make changes or whatever. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just go down and set up your own NextCloud server or instance. You know, you can quickly spin one of these things up in the cloud. You know, I walked through the full process. It's not that hard. As you can see, it's not that difficult. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, you should see that it's not that difficult to actually set it up. You just have to type in a couple commands, you know what I'm saying, and go through this whole process. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, leave comments down in the comment boxes below. And of course, keep it techie.